Welcome back to Behind the Wire on Rebel Radio. I'm your host, Robert Burwell. I'm also the president of the Washington 3%. Today we're going to be talking about lack of accountability by the King County Council for a whole bunch of your money. Before we start with that, I'm going to congratulate Washington State on being number one last week. Congratulations. We were number one last week for the highest gas prices in the United States. Yep, you heard that right. California was dethroned last week for the first time in, I can't even remember. As far as I can remember back, California's always had the highest gas prices, usually by quite a bit, but Washington's been inching up the charts these last few years, and last few years really we've been hanging around number 3, and we were still number 3 weeks ago. But then 2 weeks ago we surpassed the number 2, which was Hawaii, and became the second highest gas prices. And then last week we managed to surpass California for the highest gas prices in the United States, and that's quite a feat. California, like I said, they have been number one for forever, but thanks to our wonderful carbon taxes and the new gas taxes that the idiots running our state, the Democrats, imposed on us, we hit number one last week. So congratulations, Washington, on being number one. It was short-lived. California, as you know, they liked being number one, and they couldn't handle us being number one, so they added a few cents per gallon to their average for their state, so they're now back on top, and we're kind of going to a back-and-forth battle with them for being the most ridiculous on gas prices. But as of today, the current gas prices are as follows. California at number one with $4.65.7 cents per gallon average. Washington, strong number 2 at $4.62.3 cents per gallon. So, they're about 3 cents more than us. And Hawaii, which is now a distant third, at $4.48.8 cents per gallon. Now, what's really funny is, it seems like California would have the highest gas price. I mean, not California. Hawaii would have the highest gas prices, considering they're out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and they don't have any of their own oil. All their gas has to be refined here in the United States and put on tankers and shipped out there to them, which has got at a ton of cost. So there's a reason their gas prices are high, but they can't even compete with the stupid taxes in Washington and California. Even though they have to ship everything there, they're still cheaper than here. Washington, we have refineries in our state, so they don't got to travel very, very far at all to get the gas to our stations. But yet, we're higher than the cost of shipping it by ship all the way to Hawaii. That's how ridiculous this is. It makes absolutely no sense. Like I said, our prices are so high because of the stupid carbon tax, which morons in our state last year upheld. We had an initiative to strike down the carbon scam, and people in Washington bought into all the hype that it's going to somehow save the environment, which it won't. And then our wonderful legislator added more taxes to make us, number one. So that's why we're there. And if you want more in-depth explanation on how our gas prices are so high, you can look at one of my previous videos a few months ago where I talked about that in a lot greater detail. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Um, but yeah, congratulations, Washington. It's ridiculous. But back to our main story. So this is according to Fox 13 out of Seattle. A recent King County audit revealed potential fraud at the Department of Community and Human Services. A former council member, Kathy Lambert, did an interview with Fox 13, and she criticized current leaders on the King County Council for failing to prevent fraud and called for audits of all DCHS contracts in the county. And there's a reason why they've been calling for audits for quite some time, but the reason why that they're concerned and want this audited is that revised figures show that grant funding in King County, this is King County alone, grant funding in King County grew from $922 million in fiscal year 2019 to 2020 to a whopping $1.8 billion for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. It doubled. In 4 years, it doubled from $922 million for 1 year to $1.8 billion for 1 year of social programs in King County. Now, the audit, according to Lambert, cites a lack of documentation and disregard for the grant contract process, which was so bad the public may never know how much was lost to potential fraud. That's what she's saying. Is the reason why they wanted the audit, and well, actually, what they found in the latest audit. So, the recent audit was conducted by the King County Auditor, Kimber Waltmanson, and she confirmed that DHS, which is the Department of Human and Health Services, Health and Human Services, continues to investigate the contracts in King County. Waltmanson's audit looked at 4 youth programs. The audit that this report's coming from looked at 4 youth programs. The 4 programs were Family Intervention and Restorative Services, Liberation and Healing from Systemic Racism, because we know here, liberal Washington, that we just have so much systemic racism in the government that we have to heal from it and throw money at it so people can heal, I guess. I don't know. The other 2 programs were Restorative Community Pathways, whatever that is, and Stopping the Prison to School Pipeline. Stopping the Prison to School Pipeline. Well, given the amount of youth violence that we got going on in Washington State, especially in King County, then that was money well spent, however much they got. Because we don't at all have a problem in Washington with youth gang violence or anything like that, or youth crime in this state. No, not at all. That money was really well spent. Yeah. So anyways, the problem is these 4 programs, they have dozens of organizations which are tied to them. And these organizations receive grant money from DCHS. Okay, through these 4 organizations, the money was funneled to these other programs and organizations. Through those 4 main programs, they received a lot of this grant money. The problem is when they subcontracted this grant money through those 4 groups to these other programs, they found a bunch of issues with how that money was subcontracted out through these other programs. And the issues are that they found a lot of altered documents, which means they lied, and they changed information and lied on the documents. These subcontractors lied on these documents to obtain the money, and that a lot of these subcontractors were unapproved. Now, in order to receive grant money, you have to be an approved contractor or subcontractor through DCHS, and these people weren't, but yet they were given money anyways. That's a problem, you know. That's where she's talking about the process wasn't followed. These people, you know, they didn't follow the process. They just handed money out like candy, and these people aren't even approved. We don't know where this money's going. We don't know what they did with it. They're supposed to account for every single penny that they spend, and they have to be prepared to show that in an audit. And right now, they can't. This money's just, oh yeah, we spent it. On what? We don't know. It's probably in their damn pockets. I bet money's in their pockets. You know, it's not like we've never seen that in Washington State, have we? Right? I mean, how many politicians and city leaders and things have been busted for, you know, handing out contracts to relatives and friends, you know, which were overinflated prices we were paying for projects like bridges and construction projects and highway projects, and they were all friends and family. Yeah, like all that money went to these things and not in their pockets, right? Sure. Nothing corrupt in Washington. Nope, never has been. But another thing that's really upsetting about this is that this audit that was just done was requested 2 years ago by council member Reagan Dunn. 2 years ago he requested this audit, and they just now got around to it. Okay? But he's not the first one. Lambert says she asked for one a year earlier. And she also stated that in December 2020, she requested an audit. Same thing. But says she was brushed aside dismissively by the county council. They just kind of blew her off. Says, yeah, not a problem, no big deal. Don't care, right? The only problem with that, with the council brushing her off and not doing the audit, is the council is required as part of their job to do yearly audits of all the grant money that goes out. That's literally one of the things they're supposed to do, is do yearly audits of all the grants that go out and do deep dive in a certain percentage, which means when they need to take a certain percentage of these people in the yearly audit and actually ask to see every one of their records and have them account for every penny they spent. And they haven't done it. They haven't done it in at least 4 years that we know of. You know, Lambert didn't go any farther back than that, but they haven't done any audits that are supposed to happen every year. Okay? And she, you know, according to Lambert, the lack of oversight and mismanagement by the county council led to potential fraud that we will never know the extent of because of the lack of records, the unapproved subcontractors, and the altered documents. We don't know how much of this money went where it's supposed to go. We don't know. And the reason they got away with it is because the county council, King County Council, didn't do their damn job and run a yearly audit like they're supposed to. And not only did they not do it, but when it was requested that they do their damn job and do the yearly audit, they blew it off. And then when another person requested the audit a few years later, they finally got around to it. 2 years after it was requested, they finally got around to something they were supposed to do every year. So 4 years into people requesting audits, we finally have one done, and we find out, gee, we got $1.8 billion out there, which it doubled during that period, right? That 4-year period that we were requesting audits. It went from $922 million to $1.8 billion. It was being handed out like freaking candy. And there's zero accountability for it. We got county council members not doing their job, don't even bother to do their job. Even when they're asked to do their job, they don't do it. Handing out money all over the place, $1.8 billion for social programs in one county. One county. $1.8 billion handed out in social programs. We're just supposed to keep kids out of prison and things like that. We got youth violence epidemic in the county that threw $1.8 billion at the problem. And no accountability. None. This is your tax dollars at work, Washington. This is what happens when you vote blue. You know, this you put Democrats in charge. Money doesn't matter to them. It's not their money. They just throw it around willy-nilly. Don't care where it goes. Don't even make sure it's going where it's supposed to go. They just sign the checks and hand it out because they're lining their buddies' pockets. I'll bet anything that they are. Can't prove it because we don't have any records. But I bet a good portion of it line people's pockets. That's for sure. This is the consequences of how you vote in this state. So everybody watching this, number one, if you live in King County, you need to just be hammering that council. You need to hold them accountable. And next time the election comes up, get rid of every one of them and bring in people who are actually going to do their damn job. Now, I know this is a hard ask at King County because they don't bother to even check on anything. And what do people do? They just vote Democrat because they're so awesome. You know, have no clue what they do, what they don't do. They just vote for them because that's what a good liberal does, is vote Democrat. Because it feels good, and in all my little bubble circles, that's what we do. Because we're so loving and caring. Bunch of idiots. Pay attention to what the politicians you elect are doing, and hold them accountable. Get rid of them when they don't do what they're supposed to do. That's how government's supposed to work. Be an informed voter. That's the point of this video, to inform you of what these people are doing, these people you vote for are doing with your damn money. Hold these people accountable. That's all we can ask. I hope everybody within the sound of my voice, no matter what county you're in, pay attention to what's going on in your county. Pay attention to, you know, these NGOs, these social programs. They've always been wasteful. They just piss money away, throw it around like crazy, and they never are held accountable for anything. And it's been a problem for a long, long time. And they need to be held accountable also. So get a hold of your politicians. Make sure they're doing their job, and make sure when they find problems like this, they're holding those people accountable. And if they don't, then hold them accountable and get rid of them and put some new people in there who will. So that's it for my rant on this subject. One last thing before I close it out. If you want to be around like-minded people who care about things like accountability, where your money's going, care about freedom, care about your rights, you know, or your lack thereof in this state, you can go ahead and join us. You can do that by going to our website. On our website, you can find out who we are, what we're about, and what we stand for. Find out all about our organization, which is the Washington 3%. The website is www.wa3%.org, and that would be WA3%.org. And if you're on that website, you could also click on our charity, which is called Boots on the Home Ground. It is a 501c4 charity that we help veterans in Washington State, and we also help communities in need. You know, usually during times of disaster, fires, floods, you know, water systems going down. We've helped a lot of those. And the one thing about our charity is there is not a single person in our organization that is paid. No paid people in our organization at all. We all volunteer our time to run it, to run the charity. We volunteer our manpower for when we help projects like build wheelchair ramps, things like that. You know, anything we do is all volunteer. There's nobody paid in the organization. So every single penny that is donated to that 501c4 goes directly to help those in need. So with that, you know, come check us out, and I will see you next time on Behind the Wire on Rebel Radio. Good night.